Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Skye and today we're doing a 2 looks plus review with the Odenseye Flora Story palette. They did this palette in collaboration with Makeup Just for Fun Amanda and I had to pick it up because it is such a stunning colour story. Now if you're not interested in hearing my review on the palette, skip to this timestamp right here. It will take you straight to look 1, but if you like to hear my thoughts then just continue watching. Also I do want to mention that the intro, outro and second look are filmed in this location, which is my dining room, mainly because my partner is upstairs sleeping and I don't want to disturb him since my office is right next to my bedroom, so that's why we're here. So sorry if the audio quality is a bit off. But we got a plant! This is Jasmine. Say hello to her. We also have a Serbian saint watching over us, peering menacingly through the leaves. So I think we all know and love Odenseye. They're a Swedish makeup brand based in Stockholm, and this palette is in collaboration with Makeup Just for Fun, and this is part of their Perfect World collection. They did 3 palettes in collaboration with different creators. This is what the packaging looks like. It is so beautiful. It's that soft touch matte finish and it is just beautiful. It is based on obviously like nature and like there's mushrooms and flowers and Amanda here looking beautiful. And here is what the palette looks like on the inside. The design does carry over and there is a mirror right here. This is a 10-pan palette with 5 mattes and 5 shimmers. And the color story is like sage greens with like muted purples and lavenders. It is so beautiful. Sage green is one of my favorite shades and I love green, and this palette was just so unique the color story wise that I just had to buy it. Now these Perfect World palettes are limited edition, but I did check Odenseye's website and you can still buy them, so that's an option. I don't know how much longer they're going to be available for, but hopefully they'll be around for longer because I love this. I literally bought this on launch day on Valentine's Day. I was out on a date with Greg and like my alarm went off and I was like, hang on babe, hang on a second, I need to buy some makeup. But anyways, let's talk about the formula. Now I hadn't tried Odenseye's eyeshadows in years. The last palette that I purchased from them was the Elva 2 palette, which I believe was released like 2 or 3 years ago. God, it's been a long time. But I hadn't tried their eyeshadow formula since then and I already loved their formula. So I was curious to see like how they improved and I love it. So let's talk about the mattes first. We have like a neutral and then we have 2 greens and 2 purples. Now, I'll say that the mattes, quite powdery, very easy to blend, but I will say there is fallout on your face and kick up in the pan. Now that doesn't really bother me that much because typically when I'm not filming, I do my eyes first. So any fallout I like to just wipe away. And even if I do my eyes like after my base, I don't really care if there's fallout. Usually I whisk it away with some powder, but I do find that the shade Orchid, this deep purple, it's a bit more difficult to whisk away. It doesn't like to just dust off, so do keep that in mind, especially if you like to have a dewy base. That shade really does not whisk away easily, like you will be left with some like purple. But despite that, I don't have any issues working with any of these. They're really easy to blend, really pigmented. I do find though that with Orchid and Sage, these like deeper mattes, you do have to layer them a little bit. I do find that if you blend Shroom with Sage, or like, I think if you blend this shade with any of the other mattes, like even though it's a neutral, I think because of the undertone of the other shades, because they have that like murky muted tone to them, this shade kind of muddies them together. And while I really do like this neutral shade, I don't like to pair it with any of the other mattes. But I will say that is like the one downside to that shade. But other than that, I really like these mattes. I didn't have any issue with them wearing on me. I always use the Milani eyeshadow primer with every single eyeshadow that I use, and I have oily hooded lids. And these don't crease on me, they don't fade, they last really nicely, all of that good stuff. Okay, now moving on to the shimmers in this palette. There is one multi-chrome in this palette, the rest are shimmers. So let's talk about the multi-chrome first, this shade Dawn. Now, I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, you can, right there. I have hit pan on this. Now, I have used this palette multiple times. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've used this. And every time I use it, I always dip into that shade. And even if I'm not using this palette, I always dip into this iridescent and yeah, I've hit pan. I love it so much. It's so soft and multi-dimensional. It's very akin to the Flaming Galah shade from the Glaminatrix Your Beauty palette. Very much like that, this is a bit more smoother, not as sparkly, but it is such a beautiful layering shade. It is stunning as a face highlight, like, it's got like a pink gold green, like, multi-chrome element to it. The other shimmers, Magnolia and Misty, they are, I would call the odenseye, like, sparkly, like, sheer base metallics, which are my favorite formula of theirs when it comes to their shimmers, because they are really hyper sparkly, a lot of multi-dimensional shimmers in them. They're not multi-chrome by any means, but the amount of like different particles of shimmer that are in there, like Magnolia, it has like magenta, lilac, and silver sparkles to it, which is so beautiful. I love it so much. Misty as well has like green, like light green, dark green, and a bit of blue sparkle to it. It's stunning. These two shades I love so much. Lush is like a standard metallic, I'd say. Like, it is like slightly sparkly. It is like nice and smooth, but not as like textured as Magnolia and Misty. It's kind of like a more standard metallic, but it is still really pretty because it has a blue shine to it. Now, Best Buds, this is one of their like thicker metallic formulas. It's not really my favorite. It's kind of like, when you blend it out, it is like, it does have shine to it, but it is more so of a satin. Like, it's a slightly more sparkly satin, which is not my favorite, and the formula is quite thick and like substantiated. Like, I'm trying to like feel around for it just so I could like talk about it. But yeah, it's quite thick and slick. I find that you really do need a tacky base to use that shade, and I do find with Odenseye's metallics, you should use a tacky base or wet your brush. They just stick better to your eyes because you can get like a really nice diffused sparkly look with these if you don't use a tacky base, but I like to have a bit more impact, so I always recommend using a tacky base with Odenseye's metallics. But I really enjoy using this palette. Like, it's so inspiring to me. The formula's brilliant. I highly recommend this. It's definitely a palette that, like, if you're a green fairy makeup lover like myself, this is perfect for you. Oh, hey babe. Right, I forgot where I was. Greg is fine. I checked on him. But yeah, all in all, I really do recommend this palette. It has a magnetic closure. I feel like the one thing that I wish every brand would do is make their eyeshadows magnetized in the pan. I don't believe these are. I think they're just glued in. My camera battery is about to die, so I'm really quickly just gonna say the price is on the screen right here. I believe this palette is $34 US. I'll put the prices in euros, pounds, and Australian dollars as well, in case you're curious. And yeah, this palette's limited edition, so it's not going to be available for long. But yeah, I think I'd rate this palette, honestly, I'd rate it like a solid 8 out of 10. I really love this palette. It is beautiful. Now, if you want to see my looks with this palette, then just continue watching. This look right here that I'm wearing is look number 2. Okay, welcome to the first look using the Odenseye Flora Story palette. Now, this look, I'm going to be focusing mostly on the green shimmers in this palette. Actually, I think I'm going to be using all of the shimmers in this palette. And this look is going to be a recreation, or very heavily inspired. It's probably going to be more so a recreation of this look right here. This is by Yuki Loves Makeup, and isn't this look incredible? She also used the Flora Story palette, and as soon as I saw this look, I got so inspired by it. To start everything off, I'm going to be using Milani eyeshadow primer, and I'm not going to be setting my base. Since this look is going to be super shimmery, I'm also going to be using a glitter primer. Now, since this look is going to be all shimmers, I will be using a tacky base. This is the faerie.skye epoxy, and we're going to be going for a winged shape. So I'm first going to be taking this directly from the dough foot and just like sketching out like a wing shape just on the outer corner. You're not going to be able to see this super well, and then I'm just going to be tapping it out. I will be applying more on my lid at some point, but I want to work in like sections because otherwise this will dry by the time I get to the lid. To build out this wing, we're going to be taking the shade Lush, and I'm going to be using that on an angled brush. I've used this palette multiple times off camera just to for my opinion, but I still haven't used this shade, so we're first gonna be stamping and like swiping it in a wing shape. And we're gonna do a classic graphic liner shape. We're not gonna be filling this in with the Lush shade. We're gonna be using a different shade. So we get something a bit like that. We will be taking the Lush shade a bit closer, but I first wanna kind of like finish the outer part and then work on the inner. And now taking probably my favorite shade in this palette. This is Misty. It's a sage green metallic. And I'm gonna be taking this on my finger and really quickly just patting that on the outer half of my lid and slightly layering it over the Lush shade. I love this shade so, so much. I'm gonna go back into the Lush shade and I'm gonna be taking this on a firm, like, eyeshadow brush. This is from Makeup Geek. Any of y'all know a dupe for this brush? Do let me know, because it is my favorite brush to apply shimmers with. And I'm just gonna be patting that on the outer part and layering it on top of where we put Misty. Just to kind of have like a nice gradient, because I think Misty is a little bit too light to blend seamlessly with the liner, so that's what we're doing. I'm gonna go back in with the faerie.skye Epoxy. Of course you can use the NYX glitter primer or whatever like tacky base that you have. And I'm just gonna place this on the inner part of my lid and then patting it out a little bit just so it gets nice and tacky. Okay, we're gonna take Lush once again and we're gonna be going back in with an angled brush and stamping and swiping and continuing that graphic shape. Okay, I'm gonna go back in with Misty, again on my finger. I'm just gonna pat that on my lid. And now I'm gonna take the shade Best Buds. It's kind of like a slightly more like, it's not as sparkly, but I'm gonna be putting that on the inner part. This look doesn't look exactly like Yuki's, but it is defo inspired. Right, now since I want to use all the shimmers in this palette, I'm now gonna go in with Magnolia, and I'm actually not gonna put any glitter primer underneath my eyes because I want to see if I can make it work without glitter primer. I'm gonna take a little bit of that and just place it on my lower lash and blend slightly. It is more of a grey based purple, so this could look a bit weird, but I am going with it. I think to make this flow a bit better, I'm gonna go back in with Lush and just place that on the outer corner of my lower lash, just to try and blend it. And now I'm gonna go in with one of my favorite shades. This is Dawn. This is an iridescent multi-chrome, and you guessed it, we're gonna be putting this on the inner corner. I love this shade so much. It's very reminiscent of the Kaleidos Prophecy Space Age highlighter, so if you wanted to know like what a good dupe of it is, it's this shade Dawn. I'm actually wearing the Kaleidos Prophecy highlight on my cheeks today. And for my waterline, I want to bring in a bit more purple just so it kind of matches. So I'm going to be taking the Odenseye Solmane gel liner in the shade 08. Not too sure what the shade name is. I should really write down like these Odenseye eyeliner names, because they just have the number, they don't actually have the shade name. Alright, so I'm gonna go off camera, finish up the other eye, do my lashes and lips, and we'll be back to show you the final look. Okay, so this is the completed look right here. I love it so, so much. Before we get into the like wrap up of it, I just want to let you know that I use the NYX Worth the Hype mascara, and for my lips, this is actually new to me. This is the Half Magic Beauty, what are they called? Magic Drip Glitter Lip Gloss in the shade Magic Brownie. I used this for my lip option today and I love it so much. Like, just, this is the first time I'm using it, and let me just show you the eye look close up. It is so magical and just sparkly and green. Thank you so much to Yuki for inspiring this look for me, and I'm so happy that I got to play with all the shimmers in the palette. Okay, so that's my first look with Flora's story. Now let's get on into the second look with the palette. Okay, welcome to the second look with the Flora Story palette. Now, the last look I used every single shimmer in this palette, and usually I like to try and use every single shade in the palette for these videos. Not too sure if that's gonna come to fruition this time around, but I want to do something like smoky, kind of like, I don't know, dramatic, using some of these purple shades, probably some of the green shimmers, and definitely using this iridescent shade because I love it so much. So to start things off, I'm using the Milani eyeshadow primer and not setting it. Okay, so I'm first going to take this shade Azalea, which is like a greyish toned muted purple. I haven't actually used this shade yet, so this is going to be exciting. Anytime that I've used this palette, I typically reach into it for the green mattes and the other shimmers. I haven't really used like the purples that much, but I'm going to use them today. So I'm taking this on an angled liner brush, and I'm just going to sketch out a shape like that. I'm not really going to fill it in too much because we're going to go in with another brush. I'm going to take a small pencil brush and I'm going to go back into Azalea and smoke it out. Okay, I'm taking the deep purple called Orchid and I'm going back in with my liner brush. And I'm going to properly line the wing shape. And the way that I like to do this is just kind of like stamping it on and just like using the shape of my liner brush to kind of create the wing for me. Because I have slightly hooded eyes, as you can see when I have my eye open, it kind of curves. So I'm just gonna have my eye resting and then stamp out and fill in that section right where my eye folds. So as you can see when I open my eye, it looks like that, and kind of create like a bat wing. And then I'm gonna go back in with the Azalea shade and very carefully buff out the liner. And I'm gonna take the shade Clover right here, and I'm gonna, this could be a mistake, but I'm gonna take this, it's like a sage green, and just fluff it here very lightly. Would it look better if I made it purple? Probably, but we're now gonna layer some shimmers. Now I'm just gonna take some of my faerie.skye epoxy and tap that over my lid and a bit over where we put that green as well. I'm gonna try and not touch the liner that we did. So I'm gonna take the shade Misty and I'm going to take that on a firm brush and place that over top where we put the Clover shade. So essentially covering the shade that we used, but shush, I don't want to discuss. Every time I use this palette, I love using this Misty shade. It just gets my heart beating. I think I'm gonna lightly take the shade Magnolia on my finger and tap that on the rest of my lid. I don't want to make this super pigmented. Like, I'm not gonna properly pack it on, just lightly tap it. Okay, now we're gonna be taking Dawn, the pretty iridescent multi-chrome that I love so much, and I have a big dip in this. Like, I'm gonna hit pan in this soon, and I'm gonna put this on my inner corner. Oh. This shade along my lower lash as well. Oh my god, y'all, I don't know if this is in focus, but do you see in that very top corner? I've hit pan. I think I did, at least. I think so. The That's iconic. Okay, I'm gonna finish up the other eye off camera, do my lashes and lips, and we'll be back to finish up this look. Okay, I have finished up the rest of my face. If you're curious, I used the NYX Worth the Hype mascara for my lashes, and for my lips, I used the discontinued Kaleidos Lucid Lip Gloss in the shade Hypnotize. I forgot to bring it downstairs, so I don't have it with me right now, but that's what I'm wearing on my lips. This right here is the completed look. I think it's so pretty. I know it's a similar shape to the first look, but I can't lie, I'm in a winged shadow phase right now. I mean, when am I not? I love how the purples and the greens play into each other. So that concludes my second look with Flora story, so let's round off this video. My camera battery is gonna die, so I'm gonna try and make this really quick, but that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do let me know, do you have Flora's story? What are your thoughts on it? Do you have the other Perfect World palettes? What do you think of those? If you'd like to see more makeup content from me, then you can follow me on my Instagram. It's faerie.skye right here. I post all my looks there and I'm active on there every single day. And if you'd like to support me further, I do have my own small business, Rain Cloud Candles Co. We're a small queer-owned business based in the UK and we make handmade candles, as you can see right here. The link to shop will be down below along with our social media if you'd like to support us. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to have you here. And as always, stay safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!